Jeremiah, owner of Viking Masonry here in Fresno, California. I've been kind of thinking the last couple of days about what somebody had asked me over at one of our supply yards. They were thinking about getting a contractor's license, and you know, there's not a lot of info out there, or at least advice or anything about this. So I thought that we would just kind of go over a little bit about that and see how that goes. My background, our company's been in business for 12 generations. I've got contractors all around me on both sides of my family, self-employed as far back as we can think of. So, I think we kind of have a better grasp than most or some. But this is more for the person that's thinking about starting a business. If you already know it all, or you think you've got it all figured out, or you've already got these kind of notions in your mind, then this is probably not for you. Move on to the next video. Otherwise, this is titled "So You Want to Be a Contractor." First thing I can say, why the heck would you ever want to be a contractor? I mean, there's a lot to it. You gotta really have a backbone and be willing to fight. This is not an easy business. The first thing that you need to realize is whether you're just you're self-employed with yourself, or you're partner with your wife, or you're partner with another person that's operating his side of the business or whatever. Ultimately, you're all alone, and you better come to grips with that. I mean, nobody's going to understand your stress levels, your schedules, you're not sleeping because you're wondering where money is. Is your crew going to be there? How many people do I have on my crew? It doesn't matter what, do your trucks break down? It's a daily fight, and no one's going to share that with you. It's not going to happen, and that's a pretty hard deal to come to, is realizing that you are all alone and no one's going to share that burden with you. They can support you, but you have to be okay with that ultimately you're by yourself to the end. The other thing I can say is being alone, I mean, you will have a crew. Hopefully you're big enough to have some sort of help. Maybe you're a one-man army, or however that works, but eventually you'll have a crew. And the only thing I can say is you want to build that crew right. Surround yourself with good guys. A crew can make you over time or break you in a day. It's up to you. If you're just going to hire your buddies and go off and be a cool breeze and not worry about anything, then prepare to be unemployed. Your crew will take advantage of you. They'll do all kinds of things if you're not watching them. You better factor that in. Jobs are never going to take as the amount of time that you think they are. They're always going to be milking it a little bit, or things take a little bit longer or something, but you really need to surround yourself with the guys that are going to go in there and fight just as hard as you are. And a lot of times it's very hard to find. I've been fortunate in my business to where we've had a lot of family members and a lot of people that was from the generation company before me when I came into this business, as far as being a contractor, that just kind of came over to with us. So we've been very fortunate in our crew. And I can say, I mean, when we go out to work, it's, we're Viking Masonry, and it's like literally like a Viking war party hitting the beach. We go out there and we're aggressive and we get it done. There is no messing around. You also want to take care of your guys. Your guys are there. They're the, yeah, you may be the self-employed employer and providing a a living for them, but you also need to understand they're providing a living for you too. A happy worker's a good worker. You know, they're not your slaves, they're your guys. They're a reflection of your company. Take care of them. And you know, I mean, you're going to have to work with them as well, because you know, if you're like I am, my expectations are very high in my work and my field. And you're going to want to be out there, especially when you're getting started. You're going to build a foundation of a crew. You know, you need to be down there. You know, I mean, in my case, we call it, you know, man on the line, being on the line with the guys. You know, you got to be there clanking your trowel or swinging your hammer or, you know, doing whatever you're doing with these guys. You know, you got to show them what you expect, you know, and they got to be willing to deliver. And if they can't, then you need to make a lot of tough decisions really quick. You know, do you want to keep working or do you want to be bankrupt? Up to you. Another thing I wanted to talk about, you know, with these, you know, getting into a new business is advertising. You know, that's a tough one. Let me tell you. You know, when I first started my company, you know, we started this business on next to nothing. You know, we built this thing from the bottom up, even though, you know, it's a generational company. You know, we started this with nothing. Nothing was given to us. You know, we had to actually, you know, it was basically sink or swim, guy. So, advertising, you know, if you want to do work, people need to know where you're at. That's just the plain simple fact of it. How would they know to hire you unless they can find you? You know, and that comes with risk. You know, you got to be willing to throw some money out in order to gain money. You know, that's a simple fact of it. You know, I remember when we first started and we were doing this Google AdWords. You know, that and I was looking at that, and it was like $50. And I was just like, oh my God, you know, I mean, $50 frickin' dollars. You know, but you know, what did that end up getting us over time, and what am I actually spending now? So you can't really look at it as in, can I afford to do it? You need to look at it as, can I afford not to on some of this stuff? And I'm not just saying go out and swing wild. You know, I'm just saying, you know, you need to do things outside of Craigslist, outside of flyers, outside of word of mouth. You're not going to have word of mouth or a reputation until you've been in business for a few years. That's not going to start coming around. You're going to wonder where everybody went. But that all builds up over time, so you need to have a good advertising foundation and a good vehicle as far as an advertising vehicle to keep moving your company. You know, I understand about advertising on Craigslist, and hey, you know, we've all done it. You know, it's free, it's there, but you know, Craigslist is, you know, a lot of bottom feeder guys. You know, I mean, I hate to say it, and there's a lot of good guys on there. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of great contractors that advertise there, but you know, it's if you're looking for a good client base, I don't know, you know, unless you were really slow and just hungry for work, I don't know if I would be even close to Craigslist. You know, because you got to figure, you know, a lot of the homeowners are up there looking for cheap, easy. A lot of them don't even care if they're licensed, so you got to think about, you know, what you're competing against there. So I'd spend a little bit of money if you've got it. You know, don't go out there and go crazy and blow all your capital, but you know, get committed and be there. You know, if not you, then who? And it's going to be somebody else getting the work. Another thing that I want to talk about is, you know, schedule and time management. That's huge. That's huge. I mean, when we're sitting here talking about contracting and being in business, you know, it's about dollars and cents. If it doesn't make dollars, it makes no sense. You know, you've got to be Johnny on the spot. You know, you've got to have a running daily schedule, a running weekly schedule, a job board. I mean, payment schedules, the whole deal. You know, I mean, you have to have a running calendar that you work with. You can't remember everything, and you've got to adjust your time. Time is gold. It's more valuable than anything that you'll ever make. It's time is gold. You have to really get a good grasp on that concept there. You know, because if all I'm doing is running around spinning my wheels, I'm not making any money. And all I'm doing is wasting time away that I could be sitting here with my family, that I could be out trying to get other jobs, that I could be fixing equipment, that I could be doing all kinds of things. So running a good schedule and figuring out good days, whether you're going to do a little bit here in the field for the week and then, you know, maybe take 2 days off just to do bids all day, you know, however you work it out. But you got to manage your time wisely. And let me tell you, you know, being a contractor, as far as schedule goes, you know, you're working 7 days a week, brother. You're working, you know, 18 hours a day a lot of times. You know, you got to be working. So I mean, if you're flush with work and you've got all kinds of things going on, well, that also means paperwork. That means, you know, bidding. That means, you know, advertising. That means all kinds of things. And then when you're not working, well, guess what? You're in your office trying to get work, and you're doing everything you can. So you're creating work. You know, so you really got to get some good time management and make sure that you're spending enough time with your family and getting out there and doing other things besides work to reduce some of that stress level. You know, it can't be all about work. It can't. And I know in the beginning it's going to be, but you got to be able to adjust your workflow. You know, because what's it worth? You know, I mean, if you work yourself to death, what's it worth? Not. And without, you know, you want to start documenting everything. You know, you want to document, you know, your daily jobs. You know, document what the homeowners have talked about, change orders, bid due dates, what conversations were. I document everything. I've got spiral notebooks filled with everything. I mean, if somebody sneezes on my job, it's in my book. You know, because there comes a lot of time of he said, she said, and this happened or this didn't happen. You know, so you really want to be documenting everything that happens on a daily basis. You know, so where you can always have a quick reference to go back. You know, and that helps a whole lot. You know, so you're not only just documenting the business side, you know, of all your paperwork and receipts and everything for taxes or whatnot. You want to document the regular job side too. And a lot of you, if you're looking to be a contractor, you're like me. You've been a project manager, superintendent, you know, so you should have a pretty good grasp on that. You know, document everything. Emails, document everything that you can. It's very important. Now, the other thing I want to get into, which is the big one, is money. Money. Where does that come from when you're starting a business? Well, if you're like me, you know, I didn't want to go out and take a bunch of loans and get into debt and just be working for the bank the whole time. You know, so when I was working, you know, as a superintendent, project manager for, you know, the previous company, you know, I was putting money away. You know, because you're going to have money to live on. You know, you're going to have operating capital at the beginning because no supplier is going to touch you. You know, as far as an account, you know, even with the best credit, you know, they're not going to touch you. You need to be able to float business, your jobs. And you're not going to be taking huge deposits and everything on jobs like a lot of guys I see do that take 50% deposits or 40% deposits and front load the heck out of a job. And that's just, you know, I understand what it means and I get it, and, you know, I mean, it is what it is, but, you know, to me that's kind of it's kind of dirty business in a way. You know, I mean, I will take a deposit as far as what the law will allow, and that's here in California it's $1,000 or 10%, whichever is less. Sometimes I don't. I mean, you know, and a lot of guys, you know, chastise that idea. They want to be paid for everything up front. They're too afraid of taking a risk, you know. But, you know, when you're actually a legitimate, let me get the quotes, a legitimate contractor, you know, you have things to back your play, you know, liens and lawyers and everything else. And you know what, even whatever, you know, I'd rather sometimes take a loss on the job if it was a risk like that, and not get paid than sour my license, you know, or anything legal on my end, you know. So With the money, you know, the best thing to do is save up as much as you can, finance yourself for what you can, take a deposit for what the law will allow. A lot of times, you know, if it's a larger job than I want to deal with financially, you know, as soon as my material hits the ground, you know, I'll ask for a check and that'll be in my contract. You know, there's a lot of different angles to do that, and there's really no set way in financing a business. I mean, I don't care who you are, banker, investor, it doesn't matter. Every business operates differently, and you're gonna have to find out what works best for you. The only thing I can say is try to stay out of debt. You know, try to lay off the credit cards. Believe me, lay off them credit cards, man, because it creeps up on you. You know, and then you're just struggling to pay those off. You know, so I like where we're at right now as far as more or less, you know, on a lot of things we self-finance as much as we can. But, you know, then again, I also have supplier accounts, and, you know, I do have a credit line that's a revolving deal, but that's on my own accord and I use it how I want. So, but starting a business, it takes some money. There is no money tree out there that's just going to be willing to lend you money, not in these times. And, you know, I'd be kind of careful about asking for large deposits because that will bite you in the ass. Now, talking about our suppliers, you know, that's a good deal that I wanted to get to as well. It's, you know, you have to understand what that means. You know, suppliers, that's a credit account. These are people that have taken a chance on you if they allow you to have credit. Okay, and that's kind of a, you know, one thing I've learned about that. It doesn't really matter about your credit score. I mean, it does, but I mean, it's more of the buddy system. They're going to call other people, other supply houses that are used to working with you, and they're going to get an actual living credit from you. Hey, has he paid his bills? Does he do a lot of business there? You know, it may take a few years to get a good rapport with a supplier before they're willing to put money on the line for you. You got to remember that if they're your supplier and they're your account, well, you know what? They're an investor in your company. That's what they are. You know, they're backing your play. They're putting their money on the table and trusting you to pay them. You know, you always want to make sure that they're paid. You know, I mean, it's really easy, especially when you get a lot of money really quick. You know, let's just say that, you know, you had a $20,000 week, you know, or a $10,000 week, or it doesn't matter whether it's a $5 week. You know, don't be going out there spending or taking claim to money that isn't yours. You know, suppliers get paid just like your guys get paid. Your suppliers get paid. What's at the end of all that, you know, yellow brick road is what you've made after the tax man gets it, but. You know, your suppliers need to be taken care of. So, you know, don't get yourself in a bind where you've been spending all month and you have no more money for your suppliers, and now you're cut off and you're getting liens, and your homeowners are getting liens, and you know, that's a bad place to be. Always pay your suppliers, be friendly with them, you know. And the other thing I would give advice to you is always pay them in cash. You know, I pay I pay all my suppliers in cash, even though I am still doing it with taxes and writing it off. Of course, we're writing off expenses and all that fun stuff. Because I notice that I get more of a discount sometimes, you know, if I pay in cash versus a check or, you know, whatever. Suppliers tend to like that. And, you know, whatever edge we can get as contractors nowadays, I think, you know, discount-wise on materials, I mean, it's tough out there and we need to take it. So try to pay in cash. I mean, what's an extra trip to the bank, you know, versus getting a check, and then you're not worrying about it clearing, and then you actually know how much money you have. So walk in there with cash, they'll like you a lot better. Okay. Now the other thing, you know, we've gone over crew and schedule and some money and suppliers, and now, you know, we got to get into, you know, excellence versus profit. You know, there's a fine line in doing a project to where, you know, your nitpicking in excellence is going to far outweigh what you're going to make on the job. You know, and if we bid the job for all that nitpicking and excellence and grandeur and all this and that, you probably wouldn't have got it. You know, it's a cutthroat world out there. It is what it is. So, you know, again, that kind of falls back to your crew. You know, if you've got a good crew, it makes it a lot easier. And you just have to go out there and you know, you're going to have to make an investment in your work. And you're going to have to risk a little bit and probably lose a little bit at first until, you know, until you get your crew dialed in and they know what you expect. And, you know, once they're doing it perfect every single time, then it becomes a natural habit and you start making more money in the long run and everything else. The work should never suffer, you know, because your profit margin is down. You know, if you're going to take out your profit margin on a homeowner because you bid it too low and you know you're going to cut corners, well, you don't belong in this business. Shame on you. A lot of contractors do that and I have to go in there and fix it. You know, I get a lot of my business, believe it or not, from shady contractors that, you know, bid a job too low, slap banged a job together, Jimmy jacked it all up, and here we are. Now homeowner's paying for it again and everybody got a bad name. So you're going to have to find that fine line between the, you know, the excellence in your work and your profit margin. You know, there are jobs that I've done and trust me, I've paid the price, you know, because I expect our work to be like the hand of God came down and did it. I mean, you know, I don't accept marginal work. Not to say that every job we do is a Mona Lisa, but, you know, I mean, I don't accept marginal work. You know, and I do bid for it. You know, if I can't make money on a job and do the best job that I can, then you know, hey, I'm in the wrong business and I got the wrong crew and I'm doing a whole bunch of things wrong. And I'm not saying that I'm the best in the business. I'm just saying that, you know, when I bid a job, I demand excellence and I demand to be paid for it. So excellence versus profit, you're going to have to weigh that one out. Okay. Competitors, you'll be bidding against a lot of them. What are they, friends or foes? A guy asked me the other day, he says, you know, who are your competitors, or is so-and-so company your competitor? And, you know, I looked at him and I said, well, I don't have competition, I have friends. All my competitors are my friends, or, you know, at least the ones that want to be friendly with us. I don't have time to worry about what this company's doing or that company's doing, or try to wring them through the mud in order to get a project. That's dirty pool. You know, and, you know, the guys that have been around, especially in our trade where we're at, you know, a lot of them, you know, are just like you. They're struggling. They're trying to make it and everything else. And the last thing we all need is everybody else out there screwing each other over, trying to make a buck. You know, all my competition's all my friends. And most of them know it. You know, I see them at the supply yards. We shake hands, talk, we joke around. You know, if I'm too busy with the work that I'm doing, or there's just some aspect of masonry that I don't want to do, then I can refer it to the good people out there that I know will do a good job. You got to understand, there's a piece of pie here for everybody in this business. You know, I don't want to come and grab the whole cake or pie and eat it myself. I just want a slice. And I want to take care of the other good contractors that are out there doing good work too, and I want them to have a slice. And when they're too busy, I want them to be able to refer work to me. We're all friends here. We're all in this battle together. You know, the bad guys, the bad, you know, malicious contractors out there, they'll weed themselves out. They don't need any help. They'll do it themselves. But the good guys will stay around because we'll help each other out. And that's also, if I'm slow, if I've got no work, and these guys are hopping and got a lot of work, then, you know, a lot of them will, you know, I can put my guys with them. And my guys stay working, and then vice versa. They can take their guys and bring them here, and then when I'm back up or they back up, the guys go back. You know, but we keep the good guys working. And that includes contractors, because trust me, you know, I don't care how big your ego is or how tooled up you are or how much money you got, you're not going to be able to go out there and plow that field yourself. Despite what you think, there's too much work out there for one contractor to do. So you need friends, you need good guys in the industry, and the other thing you don't need is to go around fixing everybody's bad work. Keep the good guys around, build up a good name for your trade and everything else, and the bad ones will weed themselves out. So I don't have competition, I have friends, and I've made it a point to go out and make a friendship with most of my competition. And I'm sure a lot of my competition are watching this and kind of chuckling a little bit. Hey, they all know we're all here together. Bidding work. Well, I'm not going to tell you, how to bid a job. You're going to learn that yourself. That's an art form all its own. Geez, I don't have it nailed down. I don't know anybody out there. 12 generations of, Masons in my family and business, and I don't think any of them had it nailed down. As much as things change and different techniques and different build strategies, and, every job is different from from each other. That's something you're going to have to take into account. But what I will say is, don't go out there and cutthroat the market down. It's not fair. Just because you're willing to do something for a nickel doesn't mean that I should have to suffer too. Why shouldn't you make money too? So, you kind of need to sit down and figure out a formula to your bidding. And if you're like me, we do all custom work, residential, commercial, as custom as you can get it. A lot of the work we do is what other guys don't want to do. Whether it's just too much or whatever. A lot of guys get stuck in production work, and that's fine. Hey, to each his own. That's just, I guess, our little carved out niche. I know I have a few other buddies that are in this trade that are good custom masons, and we refer them back and forth all the time when we're too busy. But we're all, we all bid for our work. We've all kind of got a grasp on that we're tired of losing money. When you factor in every little detail, I went to the job to bid it. I'm sitting at home bidding work. What's that cost? The fuel to bid the job, the fuel to do the job, profit margins, your guys' labor, the taxes based on that, payroll taxes, personal taxes, material markups, deliveries, and then percentage of difficulties, the list goes on. You're really going to want to sit down and try not to operate on a square foot deal unless that your square footage price is going to be universal for everything, and not in my world. It's not universal in my world. Sometimes we can use it as a quick reference, and then you're going to realize, hey, I made money on one job and lost money on another. You kind of got to sit down and look at them a little taller, a little harder, and realize what you're bidding. I don't want you to lose money. I've lost plenty of money trying to learn this. I've been plenty frustrated. Other contractors have been frustrated because of me not understanding how the workflow goes. So again, I've made mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes. If you think you're not making mistakes, then again, this is not your video. You're just perfect. So, other than that, the only advice I would ever offer a guy that's, wanting to be a contractor is, get out there and, you gotta get some proverbial armor on, and just be hard as nails, because this business will beat you down. It's hard, man. It is hard. The stress levels, worrying about money, where's this job, we haven't worked in a week, or we've got way too much work. It's always a worry. Trucks broke down, $10,000 out here, $10,000 out the next day, and then something big happened and boom, you're broke and you got to finance another job. Come on, the list always goes on. Getting self-employed, we have these ideas, these wonderful ideas about Well, I'm gonna be my own boss. I'm gonna be my own boss, come and go as I please. Yeah, keep thinking that. That's not the case. I have a lot of bosses. I mean, every client I do work for is my boss. The list goes on with that. My suppliers sometimes are my boss. My employees. I work just as hard for them, as they do for me. So I have a lot of bosses, and I answer to everybody, and so will you. And sometimes they'll be good, sometimes they'll be bad that you're answering for. I mean, hey, you're not perfect. No one's expecting you to be perfect, but you got to be hard as nails. Hard as nails. This business will chew you up and spit you out. And again, you're alone. Nobody else is going to understand that. You alone that's going to strive. Just make sure that you watch everything, and you're diligent, and you're taking care of your homeowner, and you're watching your money, and you're watching your crew, and you're doing everything you can. Other than that, I mean, if that life of working 7 days a week, 18 hours a day, everybody else is your boss and all you do is worry, if that sounds like your cup of tea, well, go down to the CSLB or whatever your licensing board is, sign up, take a test, and sink or swim. So, in closing, I'm not going to ramble on all night. We'll do plenty of other videos, and I'm going to start doing some videos of like virtual tours of our work and some other things that we're going to be starting doing. As I think about things a little bit more, maybe I can do some other talking points. If you guys have any ideas or questions or whatever, feel free to leave them down there in the comment box. Again, I'm not looking for guys that have been in business 50 years, got it all figured out, and all of that. Hey, we all have it figured out, right? So this is for my 2 cents of what I've learned, in this business, and some advice for the younger up-and-comers or whoever else that is thinking about getting a license and can't find a lot of advice or information about it. So again, this is Jeremiah Gloeckner, owner of Viking Masonry here in Fresno, California, and we will see you next time. Thank you very much.